Hi guys, today we're going to look at finding percentages of amounts without calculators. Okay, so we've got three examples: 10% of 40, 40% of 60, and 23% of 800. Right, the first one here, we're going to do 10% of 40. So to find 10% of 40, we need to know that first of all, 100% is going to be 40. So 100%, our original value, the total, is going to be 40. And so to find 10%, all we have to do is divide it by 10. Okay, and so we divide 40 by 10, and hopefully you'll all be able to do that. 40 divided by 10 equals 4. And so your answer, 10% of 40 equals 4. Simple as that. 10% is the best thing to always try and find first. From 10% you can work out 1%, 5% and so on, as you'll see in a minute. So our next example was finding 40% of 60. Okay, so we're looking at 40% of 60. As I just said, the first thing you want to do is to find 10% of 60 first, alright? So if I know 100% is 60, I could work out, first of all, that 10% is going to be, and so if you remember, all we have to do is divide by 10, and all we have to do here is divide by 10, and so I end up with 10% of 60 equals 6, and then I don't want 10% now, I want 40%, so my next step is to go from 10% to 40%. Hopefully you'll be able to see that all I've got is 4 lots here, so I times 4, all I have to do here is times by 4 as well, and so I end up with 6 times 4, which you should all be able to do, 24. So 10% of 60 equals 24, okay? And we'll look at one harder example now. So this was 23% of 800, okay? So 23% of 800. Now initially this might look way too hard to do without a calculator, but using this step-by-step guide we've just learned, it should be pretty easy. So first of all, I know 100% is 800. The first thing I always want to find out is what 10% equals, okay? So I know that 10%, hopefully you can see now, all I have to do is divide by 10, and all I have to do here is divide by 10, and so 10% of 800 is 80. Now before I do anything else, I want to go one step further and find out what 1% equals, okay? And to get from 10 to 1, all I have to do is divide by 10, so as long as you can divide numbers by 10, you're laughing here really, divide by 10, and so that means that 1% equals 8, okay? Now I've got two things I want to find out here. I want to first of all find out what 20% is, and then I want to find out what 3% is. So to find out my 20%, we should hopefully be able to see that if my 10% equals 80, that means 20% is going to be double that. So my 20% would equal 160, okay? And then next up, I know that 1% equals 8. I'm not looking for 1%, I'm looking for 3%. So that means that my 3% is going to be 3 lots of 8, which gives me 24. And now the only thing I've got to do is add up these two values together. So I take my 160 and add it on to my 24 here. So we're told that 3% equals 24. So I've got 160 plus 24, which you should be able to do in your head, gives you 184. And that is how you find out percentages in your head, alright? So you can either give yourself some practice questions, have a look on Moodle. Good luck with it, guys.